Hey everyone, hope everyone is doing well. Well, right now I'm at the house I used to live in Laguna Niguel, California. I think many of you remember this background from years ago. If you guys were watching my YouTube channel for 7 or more years ago. Wow, what a debate. First of all, I'd like to point out it's much cooler out here. You do feel some humidity, although it's still better than Las Vegas. Not to mention the stock market took a little bit of a correction, although it's not so bad. I think pretty good for the week. All right, well, about the debate. Obviously, Trump looked better, but both were heavily flawed. Biden was a total embarrassment. It was a complete crap show for him. I don't really see what do they have to gain from him by allowing him to stay in the race any longer. If you really want to win, it's pretty obvious that you need to look for a replacement. The fact of the matter is that the media is panicking. The media is setting the alarm. They're whining, they're complaining, they're moaning that it's time to replace him. His delivery, his performance was awful, dreadful, disgusting, disappointment. Look, I've been pointing this out for years. But the problem is all you media pundits and many of you supporters, you have responsibility. You should have known. You kept telling us that he's okay, it's fine, the presidency is going to be very well. You know, we weren't going to get a very low approval rating. We weren't going to have all these health issues. Look, remember in 2019 when I was interviewed by the local news media in Henderson that I was protesting he was having a union rally, that he's going to be a disaster? Well, guess who was right? Folks, wake up. And I'm not showing any sympathy to you media pundits out there because you got what you deserved. Unbelievable. So I don't want to hear this crap. And all this moaning you're doing is music to my tears. It's really showing that the Trump camp is going to be doing better. Now, of course, that depends on who the replacement is. But although I really can't figure out what kind of replacement can they bring to do a whole lot better to him, the fact of the matter is you guys don't want to admit that you were so desperate with your egos to put anything out there just to replace Donald Trump. And look what the mess we're in. You were trying to push up COVID and all this other claims, Russia, racism, whatever, just to make sure Trump doesn't get another term. Well, the fact of the matter is you reap what you sow. You had to push Biden in because you had to cater to Wall Street, the establishment, your mega donors. And this guy has such a corrupt history throughout his political career for like 5 decades now. He's that credit card shark guy. The list goes on. And now the media is crying and all this other nonsense. Just give me a break, folks. Give me a break. It's unbelievable. And what's really pissing me off the most is that where are all the politicians, the people out here that represent and live in Las Vegas that were pumping this guy? The Congress people, Jacky, Masto, you look at county commissioners, state legislatures, the phony labor unions like Culinary, because they have a lot to blame. Remember, Nevada was one of the swing states. The mega donors like Jim Murren of MGM Resorts. Where are they? They should be embarrassed. This is what you wanted to give us? Seriously? A guy who's mumbling, a guy who's sick, a guy who's ill? What are you guys thinking about? It's an utter embarrassment. And in fact, in any case, it's not just that Joe Biden needs to go. It's the fact that, well, guess what? You guys should be out of the political scene. You guys are an utter embarrassment. This is your record, along with all the other scum politicians that you promoted. The Sandovals, the Reids, the Sizzleacks. Enough! You guys have failed. Everybody in Las Vegas should be upset with people like you. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know what to tell you. When I was watching the debate with my mom, I was like, Mom, is there something wrong with me? Because Joe Biden, he's not acting right. I can't even understand what the hell he was saying. It's like half of the debate time, it was like I was watching commercials. I was distracted in La La Land because I couldn't understand what he was talking about. And my mom didn't understand what he was talking about. I was messaging people on social media. They didn't know what the hell he was talking about. It was an utter disaster for him. And maybe this is why they put the debates in June. Because sooner the better, they want to probably get rid of him. But the fact of the matter is that they have to be loyal, the DNC, to their mega donors. And there could be better candidates who have probably, that are more progressive, that have a different vision, but the DNC, they don't want that. They're so crooked. It's absolutely unbelievable. And you know what? Let them fail. Let put Joe Biden in. That way Trump will likely get a good result. We'll get to that later. But it's just so unbelievable what's going on. Now we have a lot of pundits out there that are just moaning and complaining. Now, let's not forget that the Democratic Party is very divided. You see, the thing is you have a lot of these progressive Democrats that sort of gave Joe Biden a second chance because they want to get rid of Trump. They were tired of COVID. But deep down, they were very, very frustrated with the DNC. Okay? And now that frustration is being let out, even larger than ever before than what we saw in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. You look at the Young Turks, you look at Michael Moore, all these people who are critical of the DNC, Bill Maher. But here's the problem, though. As much as I respect your views, many of you are responsible. Okay, you were the ones out there saying, vote blue no matter who. And there's still some out there, but an increasing number of people, they're getting fed up. Remember, the real reason why Joe Biden is struggling, it's not just the Palestine issue, the inflation, the immigration. It's because more and more people increasingly are realizing the hope and change under Obama was a farce. And they're realizing that the efforts under COVID was a complete, utter disaster. That's why. People take time to realize what was going on. And the fact of the matter is, you guys at Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and I was in LA last night, believe it or not, you guys were telling us Obama is a sellout. He's part of Wall Street. He's part of the establishment. Obamacare was written by health insurance companies. He did more of the interventions with Libya and all these other countries because we wanted peace after Iraq and Afghanistan. We wanted a candidate who was going to lower gas prices because that's what made Obama popular in 2008. And here we are, things are worse. I mean, gas is like some stations at over $5 a gallon out here. I paid like $3.50 out in Las Vegas. It's such an utter disaster. You were the ones telling us that, you know, Obama is a Wall Street candidate. The so-called recovery that we had was benefiting Wall Street. That narrative was the one that helped Bernie Sanders to become quite popular in 2016. That was the whole point of having Bernie Sanders in the primary. Because the Hillarys, the Obamas, the Bidens, the Pelosi's, the Schumers, they were not real progressives. Well, guess what? You saw how the DNC rigged the system against you. You saw how they betrayed the supporters. That's what led Donald Trump to victory because their supporters, they did not ended up supporting Hillary Clinton. We saw those Rust Belt states flip. But after all of that, you decided, oh, but we still got to support Hillary. We still got to support Joe Biden because we can't have Trump, instead of fighting the DNC, realizing they're your worst enemy. And now you guys are complaining? Well, you guys have every right to get the blame on. Unlike Jimmy Dore, unlike Tulsi Gabbard, unlike Dennis Kucinich, who've gone away from their system. Now Kucinich is running for third party. Tulsi would rather prefer the Republicans because now the Democrats are more of the party of the establishment, the ruling elite. We're seeing what's going on. And you have Jimmy Dore. They don't even know who to support for because even the third party candidates are flawed. That's the thing. And you guys are all crying out there. It's ridiculous. Unbelievable. And Anna from the Young Turks is like, oh, they've done nothing. Well, look, you guys should have been fighting the DNC, running a third-party candidate as an alternative, but you didn't. So you got to keep in mind that it's also your efforts that are not helping, because you're buying the establishment's efforts with identity politics, you would believe in science, and this explains the pride stuff, the COVID, climate change, everything. It's not helping you. They're using these issues to distract and divide by the issues that you're fighting against, which is these progressives. They're fighting against the ruling elite. But they can't do that because they're using these wedge issues. And look at this pride stuff. I'm driving down Laguna Beach, all these pride flags everywhere. What is this supposed to mean? Come on. Unbelievable. Because that's all they got to run on. This is why they're running on abortion, because they don't have any of the other issues to run on. Now, as far as everything is concerned, are they going to have a replacement? Who's it going to be? Do you think it's going to be Gavin Newsom? I'm in California right now. It's not looking good. And I drove down through LA. They still have that homeless problem. Now, it's not like a total invasion of the city, but still, it's worse than what it was 20 years ago, right? How are they going to run this guy? Who are they going to run? Michelle Obama? She doesn't want to run. Is Hillary going to run? I don't think she wants to run. Who are they going to run? Maybe Gretchen Whitmer? Maybe they're going to run, I don't know, J.B. Pritzker? Are they going to run Cortez Masto? These people don't have that name recognition. Who are they going to run? They don't have an answer. That's why they're stuck. And maybe this is why Trump really wanted this to happen in the long term. Maybe that was part of his master plan, to get them stuck. But the thing is that if this continues, folks, and that's why a lot of these candidates who are running for Senate, Congress, state legislature, they're concerned because they're not going to get the down ballot votes. And if this continues to get worse and worse and worse, we could see an utter disaster for the Democrats. And guess what? What's going to happen? I don't even know if the Democrat Party is going to exist in about 10 years. Let's just be honest. Now, does that think that automatically so many are going to go for Trump? I don't know. He has to deliver a lot. But I have a lot of issues with Trump, which I'll get to that a little later. The thing is, though, I think there's going to be a pretty good chance that we're going to see a lot of third parties that are going to rise up. It's an utter disaster, folks. I don't know what to tell you. And they have every right to be concerned. Heck, let's just be honest, folks. I wouldn't be surprised if right now Russia, Israel, Palestine, China, Taiwan, Afghanistan, conflicts are going to emerge because they see this son of a gun, the way he was acting. We don't even know if something's going to happen to this homeland because of all of this incompetency. It's unbelievable. But it's glad that people at CNN, they're raising and addressing the issue, the quiet part out loud, and their moderation was pretty good. I have to tell you that, from Jake Tapper and everybody else. I have to give credit where it's due. They're acting more appropriately. And speaking of more appropriately, I think Trump did a more appropriate job for 2016 and 2020. Now, let me get to his strengths. Okay. Obviously, Joe Biden's number one issue, his weakness, is the border. Trump really got him at the border. He got him on many other issues. He actually woke me up or addressed the issue of the Israel and Palestine issue. He kind of gave me a different insight about, okay, he had sanctions in Iran that starved the funding for the pro-Hamas groups in Palestine, which that prevented the Israel-Palestine conflict. I believe that's what happened. Correct me if I'm wrong. He kind of opened me up to the situation. So he had some strengths. Okay. He defended his case in many other aspects, but honestly, Trump had a hell of a lot of other issues. Look, folks, this guy, he didn't know how to debate correctly. He wasn't answering the question. Let's just be honest. Both Trump and Biden, they were acting like a bunch of malfunctioning computers. They weren't answering the questions properly. And look, if you're watching my video and you're a hardcore Trump supporter and you don't like my response, so what? I could care less. Okay? I could care less. He has issues, and there's a lot I don't like about him. So what? Honestly, you have to give criticism where it's due. I do think, though, yes, the debate did help him a lot, obviously, and a lot of polls show that he did lead. However, there were plenty of drawbacks, okay? First of all, in addition that he didn't answer a lot of questions, yes, there is safety issues at the border. But again, from the way I see it, that's not the heart of the problem with the border. What Donald Trump should have said to Joe Biden, he should have said, listen, you have 18 million arrivals that come across the border. And he should have asked the American citizens, how do they benefit? What do they have to gain from it? How is it making their lives better? I don't think he even addressed that issue at all, believe it or not. He didn't address it. And what he could have also mentioned is why that these border apprehensions were far less under Obama. Why isn't he addressing these issues at all? That's just my question. Why isn't he addressing this issue? So his debate tactics wasn't all that good. And by the way, he wasn't necessarily revealing his stances as accurate as I thought it would be. Let's just put it this way. First of all, I don't think he necessarily lied, although I can't really say because it's hard to see if somebody lied or not. That's the thing. But honestly, I don't believe necessarily that people are going to be able to kill the baby after the child is born. I just don't see it. It's hard to believe. Yes, there are issues with the new abortion laws, and there have been changes to the third trimester abortion. I'm not denying that. However, the thing is though that I can't really say that he's blatantly lying. He can be incorrect. Absolutely. He can be exaggerating, although it's really hard to say if somebody's actually lying. The thing is, though, he's not really fully answering the question. When Jake Tapper talked about climate change, he was like, well, we had a record of clean water, H2O. Well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Trump, you're not answering the questions, okay? You're not. Seriously. I mean, if you support this guy, you have to give criticism where it's due. And then you didn't answer the questions about childcare. You didn't answer the questions about Social Security. Nothing was even mentioned about student loans. Well, you were not going to answer that. Biden didn't even answer these questions appropriately as well. And you just bring up the border, the economy, the inflation, the military, all this other stuff. Come on. It's like when I go ask a question about the square footage of this home, the real estate agent is going to say, well, you know, this kitchen has this stainless steel appliances and marble countertops. Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? You didn't do that good of a job. I'm going to be honest with you. And then you talk about the economy, how the economy was so great under your term. Yeah, it was better. Your efforts did work in terms of manufacturing jobs, in terms of the border. You have the record. That is your greatest strength. And that's why many of the people who are watching this channel are going to support you. Okay? And not to mention, of course, if you do get elected, there will be some positive change. However, to say that the economy was really good under your term, that's not really all that true. For one, I didn't agree everything with your tax policy. The thing is, though, a lot of your economy was the leftovers of the Obama economy, which was a phony recovery from the financial crisis. Because even under Trump, the cost of living was still an issue. We still had some concerns over the economy. Not to mention your debate tactics, and many of you MAGA Republicans debate, well, the inflation rate was so low when Joe Biden took office. Well, okay, Joe Biden was right. The economy did tank. The inflation rate went down a lot. He does have a point. However, Trump in 2019, the inflation rate was lower than we had now, and even in 2021 and 2022. So that's how Trump could have debated. He didn't do that good of a job, remember. And then, of course, he brings up we had very low rates of unemployment rates by many non-white groups. Look, the unemployment rate doesn't really tell the whole story. Okay? That's the thing. And, of course, neither of them really addressed the housing crisis. That's the thing you got to keep in mind. Now, going back to Biden, is Biden mainly responsible for the inflation crisis? Not really. However, Biden did support the COVID lockdowns, which created supply chain issues. Okay? And we did see the Russia invasion of Ukraine, which impacted food and fuel costs. That is true. Keep that in mind. Biden, even though, yes, the number of oil production has increased, but exports went up under his term, Biden did not do a good job in addressing OPEC, Wall Street speculators. He could have done that. So Biden has responsibility of the inflation. However, the main cause was the COVID supply chain disruptions. John Oliver talked about that. And of course, all these dollars that were created, which Donald Trump talked about it, and it was created under his term, as well as Bill Maher has talked about it in one of his new rules segments. So that's what really created the inflation crisis. Now, going back to the housing market, remember, the housing market was reinflated going all the way back to the Obama recovery. Obama supported the bailouts. He didn't regulate the banks appropriately. The Federal Reserve's 0% interest rates. By the way, none of these candidates talked about the Federal Reserve and regulating Wall Street banks. That reinflated the housing market. We saw these large banks buy up all these homes. That reinflated home prices. Rent prices were going up faster than wages. Keep that in mind. Then during COVID, we saw low inventory in the real estate market. Then mortgage rates went down. People bought up so many of those homes. We had this squeeze of housing supply. And now, even though it's getting better, we've had low inventory, which caused home prices to go up. So this was really due to bad policy from COVID and the response to the financial crisis about 15 years ago. That was the cause of the housing mess that we're in. But neither of the candidates ever talked about that. That's right. And that's why both candidates were heavily flawed, although Trump still did a better job. And Trump, again, I will admire him. I hope to see if he takes office, he's going to make some change in trade and manufacturing, as well as immigration, because the numbers show, okay, that's from the numbers I've seen. Now, you can call him a con man, a puppet, part of the establishment, but again, I'm seeing the numbers, all right? You can show different numbers. You can try to debunk me. I'll look into it. I can change my mind, unlike 80% of the population out there. But then again, the numbers are showing it. That's the thing. It's unbelievable, folks. And nobody ever talked about the COVID shots, the jabs. And I think that's what's really hurting Biden, because all these COVID efforts is not what it's supposed to be. Nobody really talked about that. That's the thing. Now, the other thing is, if I were Donald Trump, by the way, another cause of the housing mess is because of local and state policies that make it hard to build, especially here in California. He'll have to address that if he wants home prices to be addressed, which is to say, because if you don't address home prices, you'll not have a good recovery. Not to mention that if Trump takes office, that doesn't necessarily mean everything in the economy is going to get better, because home prices are inflated. If they crash, we see rising unemployment levels. That's not going to look good for him. And believe it or not, the question is if he's going to bail out the banks. But if we see unemployment rate go up, the economy not necessarily is going to get any better. We can see lots of deflation, true. We could see a rise in purchasing power, but that doesn't necessarily mean the economy is going to get better. Now, if he can bring a lot of manufacturing jobs back, that can counter the effects. There's no question about it. Absolutely. But that's what's ultimately hurting Biden, is that the long-term effects of the policies that they supported, along with the COVID efforts, especially jab, is not what it used to be. It's not what we were promised. Ultimately, yeah, that's the concern out there. The thing is, you guys have to really realize that, well, this is what the establishment media is not really talking about, unfortunately. Yeah. I think I lost my thought. Honestly, if Donald Trump was going to do a better job, if he would have debated more efficiently, he probably would have been in a more double-digit lead. Because that's the thing. He's not answering the question, and he's not doing so well with the independents as he should. Let's just be honest here. And I'm going to answer your questions later on. Okay. All right, so let's just take a look at some of the questions I have here. Who do you think Trump should pick for VP? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's like I just don't know on the top of my head. I think I'm guessing. I think the governor of North Carolina's got a good shot. He doesn't have a lot of baggage. I'm thinking. I don't know about Glenn Youngkin. I don't know. Just thinking. It's not easy to say. It's really not easy to say. I don't know about Vivek. I just don't know. He just doesn't have that name. He just doesn't have that much experience. Looking down right now, neither situation is appealing for the average American. I hope it ain't Gavin. Well, I think, if it's Gavin Newsom, it's going to help Donald Trump a lot. There's just no question about it. Can you imagine running on right to murder babies? Look, folks, I've honestly heard about good or horrible things about abortion. And speaking of abortion, if you guys are concerned about the so-called Great Replacement, you do know that abortion is helping your cause. Let's just keep that in mind. Because if you have abortion, it's going to help with the demographics. And that's why, by the way, some of you are voting for Donald Trump. All right, guys, you got any more questions? I'll be sticking here for about a minute or two, a little longer. You let me know what you guys think. Yeah, it's a total freak show. It's just, I actually think, Donald Trump wasn't really doing that in the debates 4 and 8 years ago. He was actually, believe it or not, willing to answer the question. He wasn't really answering the questions. Like, what's that supposed to mean? I think a lot of people have lost enthusiasm over him. Am I going to run anything for local? I don't know about that. I've thought about doing it. Look, I've done very well in the stock market. I can cash a lot of those funds out. I don't need these ugly, disgusting donors to tell me what to do. And if I were to run for office, I'll probably run as a Green Party candidate. Because then that could really shake things up. It could really address a lot of the issues, to be honest with you. I have a lot of views that don't align with the Green Party, but hey, you know what? Somebody's got to shake things up. I think it's going to have a significant difference. But honestly, I just don't have enough name recognition. Look, I could just do what Donald Trump did. Like I said, be a real estate developer, gain name recognition, just like lawyers, real estate agents, a lot of professions. And then as they get that popularity, they'll run for local office. Heck, here in Laguna Niguel, we have this real estate agent, Tony English. He ran for water board. So that's what you really, really have to do. Then you can run for city council, and then you become mayor, and then you can become a state legislature, congressman, etc. So it takes a lot of time. There's just no question about it. No, Trump needs a VP that's going to get a lot of independents. Because that's what you really need to do. You need to get a lot of the independents from Virginia, from all these other states, from Michigan. Heck, look, based on what Biden did, I'm not surprised if Trump's going to take New Mexico, Virginia, Minnesota, New Hampshire. Not to mention, even if he doesn't take New York, New Jersey, Illinois, all these other states, Colorado, if he wins them, Joe Biden, by less than 10%, it's going to be very embarrassing for the Democratic Party. There's just no question about it. Yeah. I mean, what do you suggest I run, just to be honest with you? It's like, for what? If I run for office, the opposition's going to be like, hey, he's a damn white supremacist. He's a white nationalist. He went to meetings with people who have ties to KKK and neo-Nazis and everything else. Like, are you kidding me? They're going to try to shred me apart. They're going to say he's an extremist. I mean, how is this going to happen? Now, I think they can try, but I think it may not work because I'm not European descent and people are just not going to believe in it. To be honest with you, the thing is, though, I do have the funds to do it. Because to run an assembly campaign, you need at least $40,000 to run. I'm not kidding. Sometimes I think I should use that $40,000 for other things, to be honest with you. Start a PAC, do a ballot initiative. Again, the ballot initiative to break up Clark County, that's still under the table. And that's still going to have an impact on presidential elections. There's no question about it. Yeah. Let me think about my thoughts, because I think I lost some of my thoughts here. Unbelievable. It's such a freak show. This country's such a mess. Yet again, be happy what you have. I mean, things aren't extremely bad. I'm still getting by. I still have my health. Just be proud of everything you've got. Let's see right here. It is a damn mess. There's no question about it. I'm going to call into the Steve Sanchez show, 101.5 Las Vegas. So we can kind of talk about some of the issues and see what's going on and everything. And it's not easy for me to see that Trump's going to get the majority of the support. He just has a lot of flaws. I do think, though, the majority of the people, even though they may support Biden and Trump, they do think there are better candidates out there. There's just no question about it. It's been like 9 years now we've been hearing about Donald Trump constantly. And the thing is, even if he doesn't win the election, they're still going to bring him up in 25, 26, 27, 28. I don't think it's going to work. But yeah, let him bring Gavin Newsom. He's gonna do miserably. There's no question about it. That's the thing. Honestly, who's supporting Joe Biden? You know, I did a research, and I found out that Joe Biden supporters, the heart of them are usually these white females who are unmarried with college degrees. Well, now you see what this modern culture was all about. And then, of course, they promote immigration. That's an excuse to increase the birth rates or increase the population or whatever. You get the whole picture. That's the whole point about their whole pride system. They need a large amount of loyal supporters. They're not talking about kitchen table issues like they used to anymore. That's the thing. They've abandoned the middle and working class out there. Yeah. It's unbelievable. All right. Anyway, I can't stay here a little any longer. It's just, we'll see how this really turns out. The thing is, though, if you guys support Trump, which is okay, you do. And if you support Biden, that's fine. I mean, I respect everybody's political views. The thing is, though, look, you've got to give credit where it's due. You really do. I think tonight, Bill Maher, real time. He's got to have a lot of good commentary about what's going on. So he'll tell us what's the true insight. And I know Bill Maher really does cave into the establishment a lot, but for the record, he does address both sides' flaws a lot. Although the question is, if he were to run for president in 2028, question is, do you think he'll have a shot? And I just don't know, because a lot of people in the Democrat side don't support him either. That's really the issue. It's hard to, I mean, which candidate do you think will get like 50 or so % of the vote? You know, I don't know if this country's so divided. It's just that they just can't really get behind one candidate. Let's not forget, folks, no president seemed to have any approval rating above 50% for a significant period of time since the first term of Bush Jr. And that was really in his first term. Like, Clinton was the last president we've had who had approval rating above 50% for most of his presidency. This country was never the same. That's my point. We've never had a real economic recovery since the dot-com bubble that burst. That was the last time when we had a good economic situation. But people just don't get it. They don't even remember. It really is. The question is, I look at it, that is who we were doing better under Trump or Biden. Well, yeah, we were doing better under Trump. Yeah, that's true. Inflation rate, job-wise. But remember, much of the Trump effects was, some of it had to do with the Obama influence, because that's where you saw the housing prices and everything else. And even the cost of living was still an issue under Obama. Remember, Glenn Beck was complaining about inflation. Steve Wynn was complaining about inflation. He's made my purchasing power, my employees are coming down. We never really solve our problem. Let's just be honest with you. We never do. Last time when we had very low inflation and rapidly rising wages, that was post-World War II. And we had some of it during the 90s, but that's about it. This country economically and culturally has been in free fall since the Kennedy assassination. I'm not going to lie to you. It is what it is. And that's all we've done. And plus bombing and intervening with other countries. It's just so sad. And honestly, I think we got to have more candidates, more media pundits who don't take this ideological perspective. We got to have more independent free thinkers that cherry picks from every side. I'm just going to be honest with you. There is no this wing or this ideology. It's just the solution. That's all that matters. Okay? All right, guys, I got to go. I'll talk to you soon. Keep me posted.